Hi, welcome to this essentials practice. It's called rotation revolution. And we will be doing a lot of rotating today in the joints. Rotation in arms is a feature. Rotation in hips. Twists are considered a rotation. And the other move is called circumduction, and that's basically when you're taking a joint around in a circle. So ankles, hips, shoulders, we'll be doing plenty of that work as well. The reason why we're working with circles is because making a circle is complex, and that complexity can help us both build a range of motion, but also help us build stabilization. So this is both range of motion building, and it's also strength and endurance building as well. Please have a block and a strap at the ready, and whenever you're ready, lie on the back and let's begin. Lying face up with your feet flat on the ground and about mass distance apart. Take your arms in goalpost positions, and we'll start here. And as you exhale, you're going to relax back to this center spot. And as you inhale, this is internal rotation of the leg. You're going to rock onto the inside of one foot and press the knee downward and inward. Also reach the same side arm back. So it's a lateral stretch as well as internal rotation of your leg. That's on in-breath. Exhale, return to where you started. And repeat that on the other side. So you rock onto the inside of the foot, press your other knee downward and inward as you reach the same side arm back. And then you exhale, come back to center, and repeat this, alternating side to side, and focus on pressing the knee downward and inward. As you exhale, you come back to a more neutral spot. Go back and forth like this. Breathe into the side you're stretching. Notice the side you're breathing into. And go back and forth like this another couple times per side. All right, and once you're done stretching the second side, come back to the center. Pause there, take a deep breath in. And exhale. Okay, and then step your feet together, please. And from here, you're going to take one knee out to the side. Oh, your arms can do whatever you'd like, but take one knee out to the side, press it toward the floor, and then as you exhale, come back into the center. And we're going to go back and forth like this too. So you press your other knee out to the side, press your knee toward the floor, come back into center. So this is, you could also describe this as abduction, but this is going to become a part of the external rotation movement here. So as you press your knee out to the side, keep your knee down and see if you can lift your foot up. And there's some external rotation in your one hip. And you place the foot on the floor, bring your knee back in, and then you press your other knee out to the side and toward the floor. Keep your knee there and lift your foot off the floor. And then as you exhale, bring yourself back to where you started. Go back and forth like this. So this is one move of what I call the hacky sack practice. So if you have ever attempted to play hacky sack, at least, this is one of the moves in order to kick the hacky sack. So you knee down and you lift your foot up. And you come back to center. Go back and forth like this another few times. Focusing on, this is both range of motion and muscle activation work for external rotation. Okay, and once you're done with your second side, come back into the center, pause there, take your feet out to the edges of your mat again. And now we're going to do a similar but different thing, working on the internal rotation of your leg. As you press your knee toward the floor, this is taking your knee downward and inward, like we did on our first move. And then you keep your keep your knee down as you lift your foot. And then as you exhale, come back to center. And you would try that on the same thing the other side. Press your knee inward and downward. Keep your knee there as you try to lift your foot. And then you come back to center and go back and forth like this several times. So this one is usually a little bit harder to realize and affect, but this is the other hacky sack move. It's the knee going downward and inward. Try to keep your knee down as you lift your foot up. So your rotators have to work. And you might notice that one leg operates differently than the other leg. Go back and forth like this another few times. And as you press the knee downward and inward, lift your foot without lifting the knee as best you can. All right. Very good. And cycle through until you have lifted the foot of your second side. All right. Great. And you come back to center, feet together, and notice the new sensations around thighs, around hips. All right. And then we'll leave the legs alone for now. Arms out to the sides. And now we're going to work on the external and internal rotation of our arms. So we're going to start with the palms facing up. And then as you inhale, rotate the arms so that the palms face back. And it's like you're trying to palm the floor the more difficult way. Some people may palm the floor, others will try. That just depends on the rotation available in your arm. That's your inhale. And then as you exhale, this is called internal rotation. You're going to rotate the palms forward and down. And some people with more open shoulders, shoulder joints, may be able to keep their thumb down and lift their pinky fingers up. And so you go back and forth like this. As you inhale, turn the palms back, and it's like you're trying to palm the floor the hard way. And then exhale, you rotate the palms forward and down, and then, if possible, some people may be able to lift their pinkies off the floor. And you go back and forth like this another few times. You might notice that the shoulders have different ranges, some different capabilities. Go to where you can go to where it makes sense. Another breath or two here. Okay, great. And then after you're done with your last move, relax your hands. Notice how arms and shoulders feel. Shoulder joints feel after the rotation. All right. And then from here, you can step your feet a little closer together. They don't have to be together. And take your hands, please, underneath your head. And then as you inhale, you're going to press your knees out to the sides and down, and your elbows out to the sides and down. So that's on in-breath. Take a deep inhale here. And then as you exhale, bring your knees together, if you can, elbows together, and lift your head and shoulders off the floor. Go back and forth like this a few times. Knees to floor, elbows to floor. You can also arch your lumbar spine here. As you exhale, low back down, lift your head and shoulders. And go back and forth like this a couple times. So this is it's a version of a crunch. Exhale is where you lift shoulders. Inhale is where you arch your back and press your elbows and knees out. And then after a few repetitions here, the next time you exhale, you're going to lift and twist to one side. So spinal rotation, it's a lift and a twist. The inhale remains the same, elbows and knees toward the floor. And then as you exhale, lift, twist to the other side. And go back and forth like this a few times to start warming up not only our rectus abdominis, but also the obliques. Go back and forth like this another couple times. Okay, and once you're done with your second side, cycle through to the second twist. And from there, place your head on the floor. Notice how your torso feels. Take a breath here. All right. Great. So then take your block underneath your hips. So on your back, your hips are going to be up in the air. I'm going to demonstrate at the mid-level. I say go low to mid-level on this one. And then from here with your sacrum and hips as anchors, you're going to take your legs up toward the ceiling. Now the knees can be bent a little bit, that's fine. I'm just going to demonstrate with my legs straight. But if the hamstrings are really tight, by all means, bend your knees. All right, and then from here, take your feet together and you're going to make now the biggest ankle circles that you can. So my feet are together and they're all going in, they're both going in the same direction. So this is circumduction of ankles. And do this several times in one direction. You might notice that one ankle responds to this a little more easily, a little more intuitively. All right, and after going in one direction, change the direction. So go the opposite direction. So for myself, I'm hearing the sounds of the ankles clicking, popping, defixating is what it's called, when joints release their mobility. All right, very nice. And after several of those circles in the other direction, return to neutral, bend your knees, and place your feet flat on the floor. All right, nice. From here, please draw right knee into chest. And you can hug your knee in here, stay here if you'd like, or you can start to extend your left leg forward. So right knee in, extend your left heel forward on the floor. The leg can be partially extended, or if it's available for your hip, you can extend your heel all the way. All right, and so this is a big stretch for the hips. Breathe into your lower abdomen. Another few breaths here. Okay, very nice. Take a deep breath in, and then place your right foot on the floor. Also draw your left knee in, and you can stay here with this OS stretch on the other side. If it feels like it's okay for your right hip, you can stay here. If it's all right, you can extend your right leg partially. You can extend your leg all the way. But you're breathing into lower abs, warming up your hips here. Several breaths. Right. Very good. And one last, take a deep breath in. Okay, great. And then from there, you release, feet on the floor, engage your hips to support your sacrum, and you're going to press your hips up, slide the block out from underneath, and lower all the way down. Okay, and then from here, find your strap, and you're going to take the strap around your right foot. Your right leg's going to go up in the air. Straighten it out as best you can. And from here, place your left ankle on top of your right thigh. Kind of making number 4 with the legs. And you press your right heel up, open your toes. From here, you're going to start taking the leg and your hips up off the floor and toward the space overhead. All right? And you can stop either A, if the back of your right leg is getting enough of a stretch, or B, if the outside of your left hip is getting a stretch. Some people can cinch up on the strap more, and perhaps if you are more flexible, you can hold the foot, but keep pressing the heel up and keep your legs straight. So like the integrity of the legs straight. For me, it just gives a much more effective stretch if you angle your legs less and keep your straight leg really engaged and long. So 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. And one last time, breathe in. Okay, great. And then you can release and please switch. So now my left foot's going up in the air. I'll keep that leg straight. Press the heel up, open toes. And then from here, take your right ankle on top of left thigh. If this feels like enough here, particularly since we're also warming up, so it's the first big hamstring and calf stretch, you kind of stay here, or if it's available, you start taking the whole ensemble overhead. Keep on driving your heel up, opening your toes. Some of you may be able to hold the foot, but see if you can refrain from bending your left knee. Keep your little leg nice and straight and long, elongated, to get a stretch in hamstring, calf, and whatever stretch stops you from going further, let it stop. Let it stop you. Hang out there. Breathe into this several times. All right, very good. And then from there, you extend both legs up into the strap. If you need to widen your loop, you can do that. So you press your heels up, open your toes, and several breaths here. So it's a supported version of Supta Dandasana. Both legs straight, press the heels up, open toes. Couple more breaths. All right, so you can keep the strap around your feet and roll over to the side. So we'll do both sides. We're going to roll over to a side. So now the heels are pressing out to the side. Okay. From here, your bottom arm's going to hold the strap. So, and reach as far down as you can. Hold the strap. Both legs are pressing to one side. You're going to arch your back, reach your top arm up, take a deep breath in, and then exhale, rotate your belly, heart, and reach your arm away from your legs. So this is a supported version of a pose called Jatara Parivartanasana. As you press your heels in one direction, roll your navel and your heart in the opposite direction. And some of you may be able to keep your left shoulder, the opposite shoulder down. If that's available, great. If it's not, don't worry about it, but you're reaching, fingers opposite heels. And breathe into this twist another couple times. Deep breath in, big exhale. And one last time, take a deep breath in. Okay, great. And then from there, release. All right, and let's try that on the other side. I'm going to turn around for demonstration purposes, but you don't have to. You're just going to allow your legs to fall to the other side. And with your legs out to the side, you can now reach down with your bottom arm, bottom hand, holds the strap as close to your feet as you can. Both legs nice and long. All right, so quads are engaged, heels pressing out. All that good work. From here, arch your back, take a deep breath in, reach your top arm up toward the ceiling, and then exhale, roll your navel and your heart and reach your arm opposite the direction the heels are pressing. So Jatara Parivartanasana on side number 2. This is big rotation of the spine. And as your heels are pressing in one direction, arms reaching in the other direction, if you can press that shoulder blade toward the floor or even into the ground, go ahead. If it's up off the floor, that's fine. You're still retracting the shoulder. If the shoulder blade is able to press into the floor, go ahead and do that. It furthers the twist and helps stabilize the shoulders. So 2 or 3 more breaths here. Breathe into the twist. Okay, very good. And as you exhale, come out of that, come back to center. I'm turning around again for demonstration purposes. All right, and so we're on the back. You can take your arms out to the sides, and now you're press both shoulder blades into the ground. We're going to keep them there. I like to try taking supine chair pose next. So this is thighs are vertical, shins are horizontal. And we're going to start with the feet together and the knees together. So you're pinning feet together and you're pinning knees together. Okay, and you're going to keep your knees bent more or less as they are, around 90 degrees. Doesn't have to be exact. But the knees don't bend or extend during this movement. What you're going to do is keep your feet together and take your knees out as wide as you can. And so you can see I'm keeping my feet relatively still in space. And then you come back to center. Now you pin your knees together and you separate your feet as far as they're able to go. The toes are going to want to point out, turn them in a little bit so you lead with your heels. And then bring your feet together and let's go back and forth like this several times. So this is some psoas work because the psoas are supporting the legs. But this is also rotational work in the hips. So you go back and forth like this several times per motion, taking the knees out as wide as you can, and then bringing the knees together, take your feet out as wide as you can. And noticing all the work around the hips, all the perhaps lengthening or the fluid body work, blood and lymph around thighs. Yeah, very good. So there's internal, external rotation of hips. All right, great. And then as you come back to center, extend your legs forward. All right, pause there, take a deep breath in. So press your heels forward as if you were standing in mountain pose, Tadasana. And then from here, you're going to extend your right leg up toward the ceiling as much as you can. For me, I would rather you keep the leg straight and have it not go up as far than bend the knee. So in this one, leg is now extended. And now we're going to take right hip circumduction. So my arms are out to the sides, so the rest of my body stays still. And then you're going to start to draw circles on the ceiling with the sole of your foot. So it's like your right leg was a pencil, and you're drawing a circle on the ceiling. And keep your legs straight. You can make smaller circles. You can make slightly bigger circles. If you have the control and can still do this slowly, you can even start to almost take the leg out to the side and toward the floor. So now we're going in these bigger circles and slow it down enough so that you're not using momentum to draw any part of the circle. So we're not whipping it around. We're going really, not really slow, but not so fast that there's any momentum on the movements. And after several times in one direction, change the direction. Okay, so I'm changing my direction in a big circle. And over the last 30 seconds here on this side, maybe I'll draw a couple smaller ones. Medium size, spiral out a little bigger. But all these different, all the different sizes of circle help facilitate stability in the hip. So another few circles. Okay, very good. And then you come back to center and lower your leg. Right leg next to left. Notice the extra sensations in hips. The hip muscles on the right. Okay, great. And I'm going to turn around for demonstration purposes. You don't have to, but we'll start with our left leg up in the air. And again, the leg, if you can keep it straight, excellent. It doesn't have to be vertical. Okay, so Quads engaged, quads a part of this. Press the heel up a little bit. And start drawing circular movements up on the ceiling or somewhere in front of you. And see to it that the rest of the body's not moving. So the hips stay still, upper body stays still. Okay, and there's some small movements here with the leg completely straight, especially when drawing the top half of the circle. The tendency might be to want to bend the knee a little bit. Keep your legs straight. And if you'd like to, you can start taking bigger circles. So we're now exploring circumduction of the left hip. All right, and just make sure you're going slow enough so you're sure that you're not using momentum as the leg drops to the floor. All right, and there's circles of various sizes. And after several circles in the one direction, we'll change the direction. Yeah, and how does this hip feel compare with the first side? Does this feel like the range is different? It's more expansive, not as much? Does your leg feel like it operates differently than your right leg? Do your hips want to move? You keep them still. Keep your face relaxed. Another couple circles of various sizes. Okay. Great. And from there, you bring your leg back to the center, lower it down. How does that feel? Probably extra heat in there. Take a deep breath in. I'm going to turn around for demonstration purposes. Okay, so that was single. We're now taking double leg circles, and really with both legs moving at the same time, this winds up being oblique. This winds up being a lot of abdominal work. So you're going to take your arms out to the sides if they're not there. Now both legs are up. Press your heels up, and you're going to make, with both legs, you're going to draw a circle on the ceiling that starts small. Okay? And the arms are out to the sides. Keep your shoulders down as you start to draw bigger circles in the air. So the tendency, if the legs go to one side, the other shoulder's going to lift. So you press the back of your arms into the floor and keep your shoulder blades anchored. As the circle gets bigger and bigger, does not have to be as big as mine. I'm drawing fairly big circles. And just like with the single-legged variation, make sure that we are not, you're not using any momentum for the circle. Now, in this one, the hips are moving, the low back's moving. That means your abdominals are working. All right, and then go in the other direction. As big as you're taking the circles, take the circles in the other direction. Keep both legs straight, both shoulders anchored. And after a few big circles, you make some smaller circles. Yeah, even pacing the whole way around. And then we'll end with a few small circles in this opposite direction. Okay. Great. And then bring your legs back to center. Press your heels up. Take a deep breath in. Okay, great. And then from there, release. All right. So that's abdominal work. Very good. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. All right. And from here, so let's come up to seated. All right. So we're seated. The hips are probably rather warmed up. If you need some elevation or anything like that to sit comfortably, go ahead. I'm sitting cross-legged. You can sit otherwise. You can sit on your heels if you'd like. Okay, and then from here, we're going to take our arms in 3 different types of circles, three different circumductions. And the first one is both the shoulder blades and your shoulder joints are making the biggest circle that you can in the air. So you're going down, back, up, and forward. You can do this with breath. I usually inhale as my arms go up, and exhale as my arms come down. And notice that without isolating, this work is typically part shoulder blade. The shoulder blades are moving on our upper backs, and part shoulder joint. So where your arm meets torso. And go in the other direction. Especially if there's a history of injury on one side might not operate quite the same as the other one. Just kind of notice it. My guess is ranges are different left to right on most people. Okay, but this is both the shoulder blade and the shoulder joints moving. Okay, so from here you're going to take your hands onto thighs. And now we're going to relax the shoulder joints. So the elbows are heavy. The arms are really just going to get carted around by shoulder blade circles. So move your shoulder blades around, and it's almost like, I almost think of like polishing or buffing the upper back. The shoulder blades are making the biggest circles on your upper back that you can. And just like in the leg variations, it's worth exploring different circles, and it's also worth not going too fast. So we get a chance, so there's no momentum being used. We're really working with the range of motion, trying to circulate, make circles with our shoulder blades as big as we can. Go in the other direction. And one shoulder blade might feel a little bit more stuck on the back than the other one. So notice that. Maybe the range is different from side to side. Okay, great. So that's shoulder blade movement. You're now going to draw the shoulder blades into the back like they're suction cups, and you vacuum seal them on your upper back. So the shoulder blades are not going to move. Take your arms out in front. Keep your shoulder blades actively drawn into your ribs so they don't move, and make the biggest arm circles that you can. So now we're trying to isolate just shoulder joint movement. And by drawing your shoulder blades into your upper back, you're trying to keep them from moving. So there's almost like a stability action with the shoulder blades don't move. Your arms are moving. And this is practice for your rotator cuffs. So this is the function of the rotator cuff is to move your arm relative to the blade and go in the other direction. So if you do have any rotator cuff issues, sensitivities, you might notice that the shoulder blade tries to come to the rescue. Keep your shoulder blades squeezing in, and take the biggest circles that you can with your arms. So circumducting arm at the shoulder joint, while keeping the shoulder blade still. All right. Very nice. And then from there, relax your hands. Notice the outlines of the shoulder joints, the shoulder blade that perhaps you can sense on your upper back. Take a deep breath in. All right, and exhale from here through hands and knees. We're going to come up into downward facing dog. So from hands and knees, curl your toes under, and you're going to lift your hips back and up. All right, so hands pressed down, driving your feet through the floor, and then lift your thighs back and up. So big calf stretch, big hamstring stretch. Take some deep breath up and down the front side of your spine. So breathe in the belly, breathe in the heart center. Yeah, and there's 2 more breaths here. Take an inhale. Take a big exhale. And one last time, breath in. Okay, great. And then from here, bring your knees to the floor. You're going to arch your back in the cow. Look up. That's your in breath. And then exhale, press your mid back up toward the ceiling as if you were in cat. And go back and forth like this a few times. I inhale in a back bend. And I exhale into a forward fold. Let me do that one more time. Deep breath in. And exhale. Okay. So from here, you're going to drive your hands through the floor, curl your toes under, press your toes into the ground, and you're going to lift your knees up just a millimeter. Okay. And option number 1 is to stay here. Option number 2, it's like there's a pencil straight from your heart center to the floor, and you're drawing a circle on the floor. So just to say that again, there's like a marker or a pencil connected from your heart center to the floor, and you're drawing a circle on the floor. So you see how my torso is moving around in circles. This is basically arm circumduction, a little bit of hip circumduction, but there's a lot of arm. And if you're going in one direction, go the other direction. Take the circle slow so the shoulders have a chance to both stabilize and move. And circular movements, again, really dynamic and really kind of complex moves, so it winds up becoming a neurologic phenomenon too. Like your nervous system has to figure it out. Okay. Great. And then you spiral back into the center, knees down. If you need a little break, of course, you can always make wrist circles. So a couple circles in one direction, other direction. That's option number 1, if that works for you. Option number 2, you can do a similar thing with forearms on the floor. And so instead of downward facing dog, this is, I think people call it dolphin often. All right, but you're going to press your forearms into the floor and then take your heart around in a circle like this. So it basically is a circle with the arms a bit more elevated. Okay, so instead of hands and knees and your arms are doing this, it's forearms on the floor and you're doing this. So if this doesn't work for your shoulder joints, go back to hands and knees and draw a circle with the heart center on the floor. If it makes sense to do it, forearms press into the floor, and you're still taking your heart around in a circle, but since we're in more of a downward facing dog position, the shoulder joints are at a different angle. And go in circles like this, several times in one direction. And then from there, change the direction. So last 15, 20 seconds here. Okay, very good. And then you come back to center, knees onto the floor. If you're in forearm dog or in dolphin, come back up. All right, so notice stability work from arms, shoulders, abdominals were working there too. Take a deep breath in, and a big exhale. All right, great. So you're gonna step your right foot forward. I'm gonna use the block, I'll just demonstrate the block at the mid-level. Right foot forward, curl your back toes under. We're now in a lunge. And my left hand is on the block. So my right foot is forward, my left hand is on the block. And as you inhale, lengthen your lungs forward. And as you exhale, you're going to twist your navel past your front thigh and reach your right arm up in the air. So we're twisting to the right. Send your front knee forward, press your back heel back. And then on exhale, rotate your navel up toward the ceiling, rotate your heart toward the ceiling. Try this another couple breaths. Take a big inhale. Take a big exhale. And deep breath in. Okay, great. And then from there, you can come back down, bend your knees, and let's switch it up. Step your left foot forward. I'm going to turn around just for demonstration purposes. Left foot forward, right hand on the block, and then curl your back toes under, back leg is straight. So press your heel back, send your left knee forward. And then as you inhale, lengthen your lungs forward. Exhale, reach your left arm up toward the ceiling, and rotate your belly and heart up toward your fingerprints. So heels back, knees forward. Take a deep breath into lengthened lungs. Exhale, navel's rolling higher, heart's rolling higher. And breathe into this twist several times. All right, good. Take a deep breath in. Okay, and then you can de-rotate, step up to the top. All right, great. So we're up to standing. And from now here, the next thing we're going to do is take a side angle. And you're going to take your right foot forward. So I'm not mirroring for this practice. You're going to take your right toes forward and bend your front knee. Now the hand goes to the outside of the block. Okay? So from here, your bottom arm, your down arm, is almost like a location, it's like a target for your front leg, and your front thigh is going to press into the arm, and you're going to roll your navel up toward the ceiling. So it should feel like some outer hip work. Okay, and there's 2 more breaths here. Take a big inhale, take a big exhale, right foot presses through the floor, right thigh presses into arm. Okay, very good. And then from there, you can take the block with you, come up kind of through a warrior 2, straighten your leg and switch sides. So you're going to point your left toes out to the left, left hand to block to floor, and you're going to take side angle. So your left knee goes forward, press the foot through the floor, and then also press your left thigh into your arm. That's going to get your left outer hip to work, also helps you roll your navel up toward the ceiling. All right, and there's several breaths here, and it's like your bottom arm is a target for the leg. So your leg's actively pressing in to your left bicep. Take a deep breath in, take a big exhale, and one last time, breath in. Okay, great, and then come back up through what is essentially warrior 2, and back to the first side. And from here, what I'd like you to do is alternate between side angle and it seems like it's an internal rotation of the back leg toward a lunge, but really all that work's happening in the front hip. So from side angle, find your side angle. From here, it looks like internal rotation. Your back heel is gonna come off the ground, and you're gonna rotate your hip forward so that you're in a lunge. And then you rotate it back down. Back heel replants. Press your front thigh into your arm into side angle. And do that a couple more times. So you rotate your hips down toward the floor. And then you're going to take your back heel on the floor, press your thigh into your arm for some outer hip work. And do that one more time over here. So you rotate your hips toward the floor. And then you're going to rotate your hips out. All that's in your right hip. And then from here, come up to warrior 2. Switch sides. So now your left knee is going out to the left, hand to block to floor. And we're now in side angle. You're going to press your thigh into your arm. And then from here, it looks like I'm rotating my back leg, but really, because my hips are rolling forward, really all that work's happening in my left hip. And then I go back out into side angle. The tendency is going to be for the knee to come inward. You keep on pressing it into your bottom arm. And go back and forth like this a few times and really feel the rotation happen. The rotation's happening in left hip. Go back and forth like this. Another few times. Feel it now, and we're weight bearing through the front leg. So this is rotation work plus stabilization work. Okay. Very good. And then you come out of that through warrior two and straighten your legs. Okay. Both toes come in a little bit. Let's take a little bit of a break in wide-legged forward fold. Hands can come to floor. Drive your feet through the floor. And if you'd like to, you can bring your hands a little bit further back, like in between your feet, and bend your elbows back to round your spine. So legs stay engaged, quads draw in. As you drive your feet through the floor, lift your inner thighs up through the ceiling. There's a few more breaths here to tap back into midline, because we're going to be doing a lot of rotation and side and twisting work for our next practice. But yeah, feel the inside legs, feel the front of the spine. And two more breaths here. Take a big inhale, a big exhale, and deep breath in. Okay, great. And you can bend your knees a little bit, hands onto hips, squeeze the muscles in your low back to come up. All right. Very good. So, right foot is forward, the left foot is back, and now we're going to keep the block to the inside of the right foot. And from here, you're going to take a side angle. Now take your forearm onto the thigh. Okay, so our arm is no longer on the outer leg, but you can still find it's like you're pressing your front thigh into the arm that's not there in order to get your right hip to work. Okay, so there's your side angle. All right, and then from here, you're going to rotate your back heel off the floor, come into the lunge, take your left hand onto the block, and you twist past your right leg. There's your lunge twist. And so here's the vinyasa moving from one part to another, is lunge twist to side angle, and notice how involved your front hip is in stabilizing this work. It's not that nothing else is working, there is a ton working here, but this is sort of like the apex movement for the front hip rotation and stability practices. So go back and forth like this another few times. I usually inhale and side angle because there's room to breathe. And then exhale as I come into lunge and twist. Do that twice more. In decision, side angle, press that thigh out, and then stabilize it as you twist past it. Okay, very good. So come back into a lunge, drive your front foot into the floor, and you can step up. Take a Tadasana for a moment. Drive both feet through the floor, lift your lungs up, feel all the after effects from all that work in your right hip. Yeah, very nice. And let's try that on the other side. So your left foot's forward, and the block is now going to go to the inside of the foot, and you're going to send your left knee forward, take your side angle, this time with your left forearm on your thigh. Now, so the arm is no longer where the leg needs to press to get your outer hips to work, but it's still there as almost like a piece of remembrance, right? Memory there. So from here, here's your side angle. You're going to roll your navel up toward the ceiling. And then from here, so the rotation of the front hip brings you into a little lunge, right hand on block, and then you twist past your front leg, hard up toward the ceiling. And then you come into a lunge, inhale, back into side angle. Squeeze the outer left hip in. And then exhale. Drive your foot through the floor, through lunge, into revolve lunge, and go back and forth like this Slowly if you can, so you can feel the movement of the front hip, the involvement and stabilization work of your left hip. Very good. And another 2 or 3 times. Inside angle, feel the outer hip working hard. As you twist, drive your front foot through the floor. It'll keep your hip stable. All right, very good. And one last time, back and forth. And then next time you tap into your lunge, you move the block out of the way, step up, come up to a mountain pose, drive your feet through the floor, lift your lungs up, and from here you can bend the knees a little bit, sitting bones back. Exhale is fold over the legs, hands can be on thighs, hands can be on shins, or if available, peace fingers around big toes, hands on the floor. However you'd like to forward fold, but tap into midline again. So that's a lot of rotational work in both spine and hips. So notice the after effects. Breathe into your back body. Another couple breaths here. All right. Great. And then from here, you can escape out of this in the downward facing dog. So hands on toward the front of the mat, feet back, lift your upper thighs back and up. Drive your hands through the floor, shoulder blades away in from the ears and into the back. Feel the stability of your shoulders, feel the stability of your hips. Take a deep breath in, and then exhale, knees to floor, and come around to seated. And once again, just make the seat comfortable for this next practice, which I kind of see as like almost like a belly dance practice. But if sitting on the ground makes you feel like you're really kind of caved in, do this on a chair or a sofa. This would be so much more feasible that way, with the spine upright. Okay, so from here, you're going to take your hands onto your side ribs, okay? And this is where we're making the circle. So instead of like a top spinning with your, so you see how like now my spine is tilted to one side, now my torso, my ribs are tilted to the other side. I'm going to keep my torso, my sternum, straight up, and instead of taking my head out, I'm going to take my bottom ribs out to one side. So you see how my head, sternum, xiphoid process are all lined up, and I'm not side bending the entire spine. I'm really just going side to side with the ribs. Ribs will go from side to side. And my hope is you're feeling this around the low back. So this is a lot of good side work for the low back. So this is side to side work. And to turn this into circular work, you're going to do this again at the level of your bottom ribs. The big ribs are now going to go forward to one side, back, and the other side. And so you're making circular movements at the level of your big ribs, the bottom ribs, your floating ribs, so that the work is being done in the lumbar spine and QL, and there's a lot of stability muscles, abdomen, erectors, that because this is a circular movement, it really makes them think. And it might seem like drawing one side of the circle is a little bit easier than the other. Kind of notice that and make sure that we're going in circles slow enough so that you're not like quickly scribing over a quarter of the circle. So it's like the most perfect circle you can make. And from there, change direction. So if you're scribing a circle in one way, change it up. Keep your sitting bones anchored into the floor. Yeah. You can kind of look down at your ribs, make sure they're always upright and that your head's not over one pec. Like your chin is right above your sternum. All right. And then you spiral back in to the center. Lift your lungs up a bit, relax your arms all the way. So shoulder blades heavy, lungs are light. And from here, take your chin down. And then you can tilt your head back up toward the ceiling. And try this a few times. Okay, and this is a pretty intuitive move for most people. Extension and flexion of your neck. And you come back to a neutral head position and then press one ear toward same side shoulder. And then you come back to center. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Keep your elbows heavy. Shoulders relaxed. Especially if your head goes toward a side, the other shoulder is going to want to lift. So make sure that the shoulder blades remain heavy and soft into the back. All right. And if these two moves feel the most appropriate for your neck, you can choose one or the other. If the circular motion does feel like it works for your neck, go ahead and take it. So it's a combination of those two moves. Keep your shoulders heavy the whole time. For me, there's a lot of small pops and movements of connective tissue over connective tissue. And after several circles in one direction, change the direction of your circle. See to it that shoulders are still, the rest of your spine is still. All right. Very good. And then bring your head back to center. Take a deep breath in. And exhale. Let's lie on the back. And you can take your feet together. So bend your knees, soles of feet together. Knees part wide. And you can stay here with your arms either in goalpost position, or if it feels okay, interlace your fingers and press your palms beyond your head as far as you can. And then take some deep breath into abdomen. And as you're doing this with your arms are active, head itself is soft. So feel the weight of your head already, like your head, your jaw, your face is already in Shavasana. Very good. Take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, release your hands next to hips. Slide one heel forward, slide the other heel forward. All right. So this was a full body movement practice. We did a lot of range work. We did a lot of stability work. And then the final relaxation, so relax here as deeply as you can. And so the final relaxation is all about the ability for your connective tissues to release and relax if there are any habit patterns otherwise, if there are any parts of the body that habitually remain engaged or tight. You might relax your shoulders, and then in 2 breaths, they kind of squeeze in a little bit, or hips or jaw. Now's the time to notice any of those tendencies. And there's no need to worry about them. Just notice them. And just by noticing them often, they wind up relaxing. So continually drape into the floor, soften down like the way you throw a fresh bed sheet on top of a bed, the way the sheet softly lands on the bed. Relax your body in the same way. You can also relax your thoughts in the same way. Just drape your thoughts lightly over your awareness. Let them settle. Without worrying about any thoughts. Okay. Very good. And stay draped as best you can as you tap into your breathing and start taking some gently deeper inhales and exhales. Notice the inflow and outflow of your breathing. And then send a deeper breath through your hips, down your legs, into your feet. Breathe through your shoulders, down your arms, and into your palms. And finally, breathe into your brain, along interior skull. And exhale down your face. All right, nice. And from here, please draw one knee into your chest. Give one knee a good hug. Sweep a breath across your low back. And then switch legs. Draw your other knee in and sweep a breath across your low back. And then draw both knees in. Take a big inhale here. And as you exhale, roll over to one side. Pause on your side. Notice how that feels to move a little bit after a brief period of stillness. And then from here, with as little effort as possible, come up to seated. All right. Feel the relaxation of your legs. Feel your arms soft. And in contrast, notice the lightness of your lungs. Because of all the rotation work and the revolution work we've practiced today, notice the spaciousness of your body. Top to bottom, left to right, right to left, and back to front. Okay, very good. All right, thank you so much for practicing. Hopefully this felt both informative and fun, and have a good rest of your day. Take care. Namaste.